Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from my channel Highbrook End Model Railway. Today it's time for my 1 year on YouTube Q&A special. So 3 weeks ago I put out a video announcing my 1 year on YouTube and I talked a little bit about statistics and facts and achievements that my channel had gone through during that time. So there will be a card in the top right corner of the screen now, so you can go watch that video if you like before this video. But in that video I also announced that we will be doing a Q&A in 3 weeks time, and the deadline for putting in questions in the comment section of that video was actually 1 week ago. But what I did was in the stream after that week and the stream this just last week, we've done just a few days ago now, I actually said, if you've got any questions in the live stream, then pop it down in that comment, because even though the deadline ended, I thought, some people might not have seen it, and by saying that you could put your comments or your questions in the live stream chat while the stream was going on, we did actually get 3 or 4 more different questions. So we will be answering all of these questions today, and also be throwing in a couple more commonly asked questions that nobody particularly in person asked, but questions that I do get asked a lot in the comment section and may have been mentioned previously in the live streams. So we shall do the first set of questions. I will be going through these questions in chronological order, so whenever people ask me, that was when I noted them down. So there is no favouritism at all going on here. They are just all in order of when the first person gave me them and then when the last person gave me them. So the first set of questions, the first set of 3 questions, because the rules were 3 questions per viewer and no personal questions, and thankfully we didn't get any of those, or I didn't have to delete any of those. So the first set of questions were from On the Main Line, and his first question is Flying Scotsman or Tornado. I will leave a link to all of these channels of all of the people who asked the questions down in the description below. So after you've watched this video, if you want to go check out the people who asked these questions, then I will put their channel links down in the description. So On the Main Line's first question was Flying Scotsman or Tornado. Now, that's quite a difficult question, as I like both engines. Very good question, by the way. In fact, all of these questions I got were good questions. So, but for that one, I'd have to say Flying Scotsman. Now, the main reason for this is Flying Scotsman is an original engine. Yes, it's been restored, but it was built back when steam engines were in the heyday, whereas Tornado was finished in 2008, I think, and was started to be built in about 1998 or the very late 90s, if memory serves me correctly. But I'd have to say, because Flying Scotsman is more well known, obviously it's been to Australia, it's been to America, it's been all over the world. It's an original steam locomotive, whereas obviously Tornado is a modern build steam locomotive. And I just think Flying Scotsman overall is a more popular steam engine, so that's why I like Flying Scotsman better than Tornado. But obviously, as you can see there, I've got Tornado as a model. I do like both of them the same, but if I had to choose which obviously for this question I have to say Flying Scotsman for that one. On the Main Line's next question was, if you could do any other scale as well as 00, what do you think it'd be? Some of you might be expecting me to say N gauge, because, well, quite a lot of you know that I don't like spending a lot of money on model trains. I like to get things for good value. But what might surprise you is I'm actually going to say O gauge. Now, if I had the money, I would certainly start O gauge, because what I might even think about doing is something like what Sam's Trains does. What I could do is I could have like a shelf layout, maybe just above where the trains are here, and I could have like a little, like end-to-end layout. So just probably 2 or 3 straight pieces of track mounted on a board, suspended up here somewhere. But it is really nice to do different scales, and the detail you get in O gauge is really nice. O gauge can actually be really good value for money. The engines are a lot more powerful, because it's O gauge. There's more space for details, and like the Dapol Terrier and the is it the Dapol Terrier? Yeah, I think it's the Dapol Terrier and the Dapol 08. Things like that, when they're on sale at Hatton's, for instance, you can get them for like 300 quid, or maybe even 170, like some that Sam's Trains got a while ago. But O gauge it'd be nice to try, but I haven't got the money. But if I had to try another scale, I will, just because the value for that can be really good, and also the models are incredibly detailed, which is what people like to see. I suppose it'd also give me a bit varied content on the channel, which could be good. So I would do O if I had to do another scale apart from double O. And the final question, the final third question from On the Mainline is, when you made the channel, did you think you'd get as many subscribers this quick? Well, obviously it hasn't been as quick as some channels. I mean, you just have to look at people making YouTube shorts twice a day, and you can see they've got like 1 million, nearly 2 million subscribers in 3 or 6 months. But for a model railway channel, considering that I'm a very small channel, my editing skills honestly aren't the best. My filming and editing and putting on YouTube is done on a budget, and to say that a lot of channels on YouTube have also covered the topic of model railways, Sam Strange, Jenny Kirk, lots of people, and even my subscribers, lots of people on YouTube are actually doing model railway stuff. So when I made it, I didn't expect much. I thought it'll get dwarfed by bigger channels. Maybe I'll get 10 or 20 subscribers, maybe a couple of hundred views in the first year. But you know what, I'll stick at it and see how we go. But that's not true. I'm at 14,000 views now, I think, and 171 subscribers, at the time of recording this video. So it has been really nice to see the support from you guys, and obviously it's been well received by me, because obviously I keep thanking you. I keep making special videos like this one, and 100 subscriber specials and 10,000 specials to say thank you to you. So no, I didn't think my channel would progress this quick. So it's been quite pleasant actually to see we just gently motoring along, keep gaining new people, keep gaining views, and the comments are always very, very positive. So no, I didn't think I'd get subscribers this quick. Anyway, that was On the Mainline set of 3 questions. Thank you very much for those questions on the Mainline. As I've just said, these channels links will be in the description, so please go check them out after you've watched this video. So moving on to the next person who asked their questions. The next question is from a channel called I Like Trains, and he submitted 2 questions, so again his channel link will be in the description. I Like Trains' first question is, do you want to become a train/engine driver? Now I think I've mentioned this once before, but I don't think I went into too much detail about it. What I said was, I think I'd like to keep trains in general as a hobby, whether that be going out to train spot trains or doing model railways, or like answering questions on a forum in the future or something like that. I said I'd like to keep trains as a general hobby, so I can still do it in my spare time, and I can still do it obviously whenever I'm not doing anything else aside from my job. If I do, well, I will eventually get a job, of course. That's a silly thing to say, but I am actually quite interested in sort of like DT, whether that's design and technology, whether that be building things out of wood, or investigating how things work, or dismantling things, and particularly the subject of like electronics or electricity, like motors and circuit boards and just general stuff to do with electricity and electronics. I'm quite interested in that. So although I don't necessarily want to become a train or an engine driver, I will keep trains as a general hobby, because I'm wanting to do something relating to electronics or electricity as a job in the future, or something to do with making or building or designing things. But I suppose I could end up, getting a job on like designing electronic systems for trains. So although I don't necessarily want to drive a train or locomotive or have a job like that, I want to end up doing something to do with electronics. But that job with electronics may still be related to trains, just not directly me driving the train. So that's what I think about that one. So thank you for that question, I Like Trains. And I Like Trains' second and final question is, what's your favourite model train? That was similar to a question Kurt asked earlier. The Model Shed, or Kurt TV, as said this previously now. So what's your favourite model train? I Like Trains was asked. Kurt asked earlier, if you only had one model train, what would it be? And I said the standard 4MT. So for that question, I Like Trains, my favourite model train that I would like to get, or my favourite model train overall, is the Bachmann 4MT, because I have had one before, except that it broke, but before it broke, it worked absolutely fine. It was a very nice detail model. So my favourite model train overall is the Bachmann or standard 4MT, either from Hornby or Bachmann, because I've heard good things about the Hornby one as well. But if it's what your favourite model train I currently own, then it's definitely the 9F. One of the best values things I've bought. Great puller, looks fantastic, mechanism is absolutely sound, runs sweet as a nut. So that's the answer to your 2 questions, I Like Trains. Thank you very much again for submitting your questions, and I shall move on to the final question from my viewers before I answer some frequently asked questions that aren't necessarily from everyone or from a particular person. And finally, my final question from viewers is from Chris Southgate. Again, channel link in the description. I know I've said that a lot today. It is just to remind you. Chris Southgate has said Hornby or Pico track and why. So I'm going to have to say Pico for that, partially because in some instances it's a lot cheaper than Hornby track. For example, I think Pico point correctors are about 40 or 30p cheaper than Hornby point correctors. You know, the single curve second radius that you use after a point to get it parallel to the things. So when you have a curve of a point, you use a single curve second radius bit to get it parallel to the bit on the straight bit of the point. In my experience, some Pico track is a lot cheaper. It's also the fact that Pico points make a much more satisfying noise when they click over, and also the actual tactile feedback or how the point switch over actually feels a lot better for Pico. It seems a lot better designed, a lot nicer to use, which I'll demonstrate now. So this is an example of one of the Pico points on my layout. You might also be able to know, because the edge of this bit of track here is actually a Hornby track, and as you can see it's a lot more dull and a lot more matted and a lot more of a silvery colour, whereas when we move on to the Pico section you see it's more of like a nice bright brass golden colour, and that's another reason why I prefer Pico. Also, Pico have brown sleepers, which also contrasts against the brass colour, so I guess that's another thing. Pico track just seems to stay a lot cleaner than Hornby track, and although it's both nickel silver, Pico's track is a lot more shiny, a lot more brassy coloured than Hornby track, and Hornby track, as you can see here, looks a bit dull, and also back here, that's Hornby track. That looks a lot duller, even though it's very clean. The Pico track just looks a lot better. Anyway, so as you can hear, when I flick the point over, it makes a much more satisfying noise. It's also slightly more difficult to push it over. And obviously, because Pico have got inbuilt springs into their points, it's a lot nicer to push it over. You only have to push it a little bit, and then it properly snaps over. You have to push it to there, and as you can see, it just goes. So the feel of switching it over, the nice satisfying click sound of when you push it over, is a lot more nicer than a Hornby point. I'll just show an example of a Hornby point now. So here's one Hornby point on the back of my layout. I did buy one Hornby point for when I was track planning my layout, so I could figure everything out, because when I was ordering the stuff to track plan my layout, so an example of all the curves and an example of all the points, etc., so I could plan, they didn't have any Pico points in stock, so I just bought a Hornby one. I would prefer this point at the back to actually be a Pico one, but I wasn't going to spend another 13 quid on a Pico point when I had a perfectly good Hornby one here. So this one's right at the back on the runaround loop in me coal marshalling or coal truck shunting siding, so it's not going to get used very often. But if I just switch it over for you now, you might not even be able to hear that noise. Even if I do it really hard, it's just not a nice point to switch over. I think the actual springiness in these points that cause it to snap over, well, it doesn't really snap over, it more really just slides over. I think the springiness is actually caused by the rails themselves, which isn't as good. There's no inbuilt spring, and the contacts on the bottom are two pieces of metal just bent against the rails to make contact. So the contacts aren't as good as the pre-wired Pico ones. The noise when you flick them over is barely audible, and it doesn't make really that much of a nice noise. And you also have to push the points over a lot further. If I just do that, you pretty much have to push them all the way over, unlike the Pico ones, which proper snap over. So that's just an example of why I like Pico track better than Hornby. And I've also found that some Hornby track, not all pieces of Hornby track, it's very strange that I haven't figured this out yet. Some Hornby track doesn't take solder as well as Pico track, so I have had some problems with having to swap out pieces of Hornby track for Pico track when I've been wiring up my layout, because as you know, I don't use power connectors or anything like that. I just solder the wires directly underneath the board. So yeah, it's very strange is that. Some pieces of Hornby track will take solder, some of them won't, but overall Pico is a lot better for taking solder, at least in my experience. So thank you to Chris Southgate there for your question. Another great question, as all of my questions are today. And I'm actually just going to answer some frequently asked questions I get in the comment section or on live streams quite often. So the first one of those two is, will you ever get any locomotives from the USA? Now for this question, I'm not going to say no or I'm not going to say yes because I don't want to promise you or disappoint you too much. My answer is going to be maybe because I don't really like a lot of USA locomotives, and I'm sorry to my American viewers to say that as a British person, the American locos are good for power, but for speed and looking nice or looking very smart, they don't look brilliant. As you can see, the 9F and the 08 there in the background, although they are freight locos, they do look really quite elegant, and indeed the 4F in front of me does look quite good, at least to my eyes, even though it is technically a freight loco. But maybe I might get some locomotives from the USA. Maybe there's a couple of USA locomotives that actually look quite nice, I don't know about yet, or maybe in the future my mind will change on USA locomotives in my opinion about them. I know there's a couple which I'd like to get. I'm not going to mention which ones, so you can leave yourself to think about that, because I don't want to mention them in case that sparks a discussion in the locomotive about me being favouritist over USA locomotives, or I don't want to get your hopes up too much. I certainly don't plan to buy any, but there are a couple which I've got in my mind and I'm thinking about. There aren't any on my list as such. I have a list of about 30 engines that I like to get, and there's no American locomotives on there so far, but it is indeed a possibility. And the second question I get asked quite a lot is, what is your favourite steam loco, diesel loco and electric loco? So my favourite steam loco, I've already said twice today, is the Stanley Class 4MT, the tender version, and I have already mentioned the reason why. My favourite diesel loco are the Peaks, so the 45, 46 and 47, the 08, the 37, the 47 and the 55. The Peaks just because I like the look and they have that really nice roaring classic diesel sound. The 37 because again a great classic British diesel. It's got that nice traction noise, and as viewers of my channel will know, I've described the sound of a 37 to sound like my grandma and granddad's Volkswagen Passat engine. So if you understand that joke, if you've been on my channel before, then just let me know down in the comments. So bit of a laugh we can have down there. The 47 again, another classic British steam loco, and the 55 again, just the engine noise is fantastic. My favourite electric locos are the 87, 88 and 90. I just really like the look of them, and the noise they make is quite nice as well. The more modern one in there is obviously the 88. I'm not exactly a fan of more modern locos, but the 88 is certainly an exception to that. It's a really quite interesting design, is that one, because the 88 is a modern loco, but as I'm looking at the image now I've got in my slides, to say it's quite a big loco, it's only got 8 wheels, 4 axles, so for a really long loco, the fact it's only got 4 axles is quite an interesting design. It's almost like some of the German Deutschbahn DB designs. It's a really quite interesting loco. So then, all questions have been answered in our 1 year on YouTube Q&A special. I do hope you enjoyed listening to some of these answers, and of course thank you to all the viewers and subscribers who have sent me in these questions, and we've answered a couple of extra bonus ones that I get asked quite a lot. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. It's been very nice to answer some of your questions, and it's been nice to see the questions I've been getting in as I've asked for them. So thank you to everyone who has submitted a question. I have put links down in the description to their channel, so you can go check out their channel if you want. Once again, thank you for watching this video. Thank you to my viewers and subscribers for sending in the questions, and I do hope to see you in the next one. I do apologise that there's been a lot of sat down looking at trains and talking videos recently. That's just the way it's fallen with getting 100 subscribers and 10,000 views and then 1 year on YouTube a couple of weeks after. But I do promise that there are a lot more doing and servicing and reviewing videos coming up very soon to my channel, so I do hope you are all going to look forward to those. Anyway, apologies again for the lots of talking videos recently. It's just how it's fallen. But yeah, lots more doing videos coming soon. We have got a train spotting video next week. I'm not going to give you too much more information on that, as not to give it away. But I do hope to see you very, very soon. If I don't see you next week on Tuesday, I'll definitely see you this Sunday for another live stream at the usual time of 4:15 if everything goes to plan. So thank you all for watching once again, and take care of yourself, folks. Bye for now.